Chosen one, you won't believe how heaven has already answered you. What if I told you that God Himself is funding your next steps? They never wanted you to realize this shift, but it's happening right now. You felt that tight knot of worry in your chest, that nagging fear that your efforts might never be enough. You've watched others succeed and wondered why your prayers seem to echo into silence. But today, everything changes. You are not alone in this season of uncertainty. A divine current has begun to flow, moving beyond humans striving into supernatural provision. Hidden truths are rising to the surface, and revelations that once felt distant are now within your grasp. If this message already speaks to your soul, subscribe, like this video, and comment 77 below. Prepare, because what you're about to learn will shift your reality forever. The end of worry and scarcity. You have known the crushing weight of worry, the endless loop of scarcity that choked your spirit and stifled your dreams. Late at night, your mind replayed every failure, every missed opportunity, as if each one marked a permanent curse. You felt the grip of fear tightening around your chest, convincing you that you would never break free. Yet hear this: you are not alone in the struggle, and your current season is not your final destination. What you feel now is the stirring of a great shift, one that will dissolve the chains of lack and usher you into a reality where provision flows as naturally as breath. The moment you dare to believe in a provision beyond human effort, everything changes. Stay with me, for the truths I'm about to share will dismantle the walls of scarcity and reveal the pathway to divine abundance. Think back to the moments when you counted coins instead of counting blessings, when every unexpected bill felt like a blow to your faith. You have wrestled with the gnawing question of whether your labor would ever yield fruit, watched others prosper seemingly with little struggle, and wondered if some invisible barrier set you apart from favor. In your quest for security, you may have worked longer hours, sacrificed rest, and kept your head down in hopes of survival. Yet no amount of striving could fill the hollow ache in your soul or guarantee the breakthrough you longed for. That emptiness spoke to a deeper truth. You were never meant to live in survival mode. Your restlessness, your yearning for more, were not flaws but signals pointing you toward a destiny of overflowing provision. Those signals were not random but part of a divine pattern unfolding long before your first prayer. Consider the words from Haggai 2 verse 19, where God declares through the prophet, "From this day on, this 24th day of the 9th month, give careful thought to the day when the foundation of the Lord's temple was laid." Give careful thought. Is there yet any seed left in the barn? Until now, the vine and the fig tree, the pomegranate and the olive tree have not borne fruit. From this day on I will bless you. Just as the Israelites experienced a shift from drought to blessing, so your season of fruitlessness was never meant to last. When you aligned your heart with divine timing, choosing obedience over comfort and hope over despair, you stepped into that very promise. The turning point came when you traded striving for trust, and in that moment, the foundations of your life began to tremble in anticipation of new growth. Now look for the unmistakable signs that this transformation is taking root in your life. You might find that the late-night anxieties that once hijacked your thoughts are replaced by a quiet confidence as you wake each morning. Opportunities you thought were out of reach now present themselves with synchronistic timing, as if the universe itself conspires on your behalf. Conversations with friends and colleagues suddenly open doors to collaboration and support that you never expected. Even your finances begin to shift. Small deposits, surprise gifts, or timely commissions that arrive just when a need is most pressing. These subtle yet profound changes are the footprints of divine timing, evidence that your obedience is triggering a harvest that could not be held back. Like a garden responding to the first rains of spring, your life awakens to possibility and promise. Behind every visible shift, higher forces work in your favor, clearing obstacles you never knew stood in your way. Angels encamp around you, breaking assignments of lack and fear, and building invisible scaffolding that supports your destiny. You may have dismissed certain coincidences as chance, but each one is a divine intervention. Whether it's an unexpected mentor crossing your path, a sudden financial breakthrough, or a last-minute cancellation that spares you from disaster, your struggles were never mere tests of endurance. They were strategic setups for elevation. In Zechariah 4 verse 6, the Lord declares, "Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit." And now that Spirit moves on your behalf, turning every trial into a stepping stone. Your calling stands confirmed by forces you cannot see but can feel in every beat of your heart. At this crossroads, you understand that a wave of abundance is rising, but now you must make a choice. Will you fully accept and embody this transformation, or will you shrink back in fear of the unknown? Many cling to the safety of survival habits because the path of faith demands a leap beyond familiar shores. Yet true alignment requires more than witnessing miracles. It calls for immersion in the flow of divine purpose. Surrender the last vestiges of doubt that whisper you are unworthy of provision. Embrace the reality that your destiny demands bold action, not passive observation. This is your sacred moment of self-realization, where you decide to trust the surge of abundance beneath your feet and step forward into the fullness of all that has been promised. Now that you recognize the signs and divine orchestration behind your breakthrough, rise in confidence and step into your new reality. Release every hesitation that holds you on the shore of possibility. Affirm your identity as a child of divine provision, chosen and equipped to walk in unprecedented favor. Deepen your spiritual practices. Immerse yourself daily in prayer. Study the scriptures that speak of abundance, and surround yourself with a community that uplifts your faith. Take practical steps. Create a budget that reflects your new mindset. Extend generosity to others even before you see a return, and pursue the projects that your heart has longed to launch. Trust that each act of faith compounds into momentum, carrying you further into your season of supernatural provision. Your moment to claim the end of worry and scarcity has arrived. Comment worry-free if your spirit resonates with this truth and you choose faith over fear. Remember, scarcity belonged to your past. Abundance is your inheritance. Walk boldly into this new chapter. Share this revelation with those still bound by lack, and become a living testament to the power of divine provision. As you rise on this wave of blessing, you will not only experience a life transformed, but also become the channel through which others learn that worry is no longer their companion and scarcity is no longer their fate. Ride this wave with unwavering faith, for your destiny awaits beyond the horizon. And if you feel called to go even deeper, there's a sacred space reserved for our community, a private room where you receive full prophetic messages daily. Join our private membership through the link in the description and walk this path with us. Divine funding over human effort. You have given your all, long hours, careful strategies, endless planning, and yet still you feel the weight of your own strength pressing you down. Every breakthrough seems just out of reach. Every goal demands more sweat than you thought possible. You may lie awake at night replaying the day's efforts in your mind, wondering if any human tactic can ever unlock the doors you long to open. You are not alone in this weary pursuit. Many have run on empty, convinced that to cease striving means to surrender hope. But what if I told you that a different power awaits? One that makes human effort obsolete and transforms your work into a conduit for something far greater. Stay with me, because what you're about to discover will shift you from relentless striving to effortless receiving, guiding you to embrace a provision that transcends your own strength. You have lived seasons where every victory felt temporary, like building a house of sand only to watch the tide wash it away. You've known the sting of rejection when you poured your heart into a project that failed, the ache of watching colleagues advance while your own efforts stalled. You've prayed fervently, only to see no visible change, and wondered if your faith mattered in the face of unrelenting obstacles. Those moments cut deep. They reminded you of your limitations and whispered that perhaps you were destined for struggle, not for breakthrough. In those hours of confusion and frustration, you felt the divide between your dreams and your reality widen, and you questioned whether human effort alone was enough to bridge the gap between where you are and where you're called to be. Yet every moment of striving and every challenge you faced was never meant to be your final answer, but part of a greater design to position you for divine provision. In the obscure story of Baruch, Jeremiah's scribe, we read that his diligent transcription of prophecy amid persecution and fear laid the groundwork for the survival of a nation. Baruch 1:1-10. His human effort was necessary, but it was the prophetic word, a divine deposit, that gave his work eternal significance. Your own acts of faith, Your prayers, your obedience in small tasks, your willingness to persevere, were creating vessels empty and ready for heaven's supply. The turning point arrives when you acknowledge that the labor you've trusted in is no longer the source, but the preparation for a supernatural influx. Now begin to notice the subtle yet undeniable shifts as you release the burden of striving and invite divine funding to flow. You may wake with a buoyancy in your spirit, an unexpected peace that replaces the familiar tension in your chest. Projects that once required every ounce of your energy now move forward with surprising momentum, as if an unseen hand guides every decision. Financial strains begin to ease. Unexpected gifts, timely contracts, and sudden opportunities materialize where none existed before. Relationships once fraught with friction soften under the influence of grace, opening doors to collaboration and support. These changes aren't random. They are markers of divine timing, aligning your circumstances, energy, and divine favor in perfect harmony so that you step into a season of abundance without the exhaustion of relentless striving. Behind these visible breakthroughs lies a tapestry of divine intervention and spiritual alignment. Angels minister to your needs, clearing obstacles you never saw and placing allies in your path at exactly the right moment. Synchronicities, chance conversations, prophetic dreams, timely scriptures serve as gentle confirmations that your faith is not misplaced. Your hardships were never proof of abandonment but the necessary forging of your character, setting you up to receive more than you ever imagined. As Psalm 68 verse 19 proclaims, "Blessed be the Lord, who daily bears our burden." So you find that as you surrender your efforts, the weight of care lifts, replaced by the confidence that a supernatural provision moves on your behalf. This is the partnership of faith and manifestation, where divine power enters the empty vessels of your obedience and overflows into every area of your life. At this threshold, you realize the transformation is real, but now you must choose to embody it fully. Many resist this shift because the unknown can feel like a void, tempting you to cling to the illusion of control in your own efforts. Fear whispers that without your constant striving, you might be left unprepared or vulnerable. Yet true alignment demands more than passive observation. It calls for active surrender. This sacred moment asks you to relinquish the last vestiges of independence and trust that divine funding will meet your needs and overflow beyond. Embrace the truth that letting go of human effort is not a sign of weakness but of unprecedented strength. For you now stand in the currents of heaven's abundance. Having recognized the signs and divine orchestration at work, step forward with unwavering confidence. Release every doubt that tells you to hold back and affirm your identity as a conduit of supernatural provision. Cultivate spiritual practices that keep your vessel open, consistent prayer that invites guidance, meditative engagement with scriptures that speak of abundance, and fellowship with those who encourage your faith. Take intentional steps to align your actions with your new reality. Budget with faith in mind, give generously even before you see a return, and launch the projects your heart has longed to pursue. Trust that each act of surrender creates a resonance that draws more blessing into your life, compounding faith into momentum. Your season of relentless striving is over. Comment align if you choose divine funding over human effort and open your hands to receive. Remember, this is not a one-time event but a continual posture of faith, an ongoing partnership where supernatural provision meets every need. Walk boldly into this new chapter, share your testimony with those still trapped in struggle, and become a living example of life fueled by heaven's supply. Ride this wave of abundance with joy, for you were chosen not just to survive but to thrive in a provision that knows no limits. And to every soul who's supported with a super thanks, thank you. You are keeping this light alive for others who haven't found it yet. If you feel called to help this mission reach more chosen ones, tap the super thanks button below. Your energy supports these messages and helps them travel further. Your voice matters, your belief matters, and your light is felt here. Signs that your season has shifted. You have felt it in your bones, the subtle shift in the air as you wake each morning, a whisper of hope beneath the weight of old worries. You know the difference between ordinary days and the dawn of something new, when the very fabric of reality seems more vibrant, alive, electric with possibility. If you've been brushing off these feelings as wishful thinking or mere coincidence, know that you are not alone in your skepticism. It takes courage to admit that change might be for real, to acknowledge that the universe you thought you knew is rearranging itself around you. But what if these inklings are not illusions? What if they signal the end of one season and the beginning of another? A season where your every need is met and your destiny moves forward on its appointed path. Today, we'll uncover the unmistakable signs that your season has shifted, and by the end, you'll see why nothing will ever be the same again. For too long, you may have felt trapped in a life that refused to yield. Your efforts toward growth seemed to reverse course, dragging you back into patterns of frustration. You poured yourself into relationships that drained you, jobs that stifled your creativity, and habits that numbed your soul. You've scrambled for breakthroughs only to find the doors locked tight, and every fresh start felt like a patch over an old wound, offering little real relief. Perhaps the worst part was the voice in your head, echoing doubts. Are you doing something wrong? Is the promise of change just an illusion, always one step beyond your reach? You know the ache of unmet expectations and the sting of watching others around you step into blessing while you hover on the sidelines. Yet even in your darkest moments, you sense something shifting beneath the surface, a current of anticipation stirring in your spirit. This inner tug was not born of impatience, but of divine timing. In Jeremiah 17 verses 7-8, it is written, "Blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. They will be like a tree planted by the water." You may have clung to that image, longing to grow roots in unshakable soil. Your struggle, painful as it was, prepared you for this moment of transformation. It taught you to lean not on your own understanding, but on the promise that true flourishing comes from a source beyond yourself. The turning point arrived when you refused to let frustration define you and instead reached for that promise with unwavering faith. Now, look for the signs that your world is realigning before your eyes. You wake each day not with dread, but with a peaceful expectancy, as though the very atmosphere around you anticipates your next step. Opportunities that once seemed impossible now present themselves with effortless grace. A message from an old contact who can open doors, a sudden inspiration for a passion project, or a financial provision that appears like manna in desperate times. You notice that conversations with loved ones deepen, as if an invisible thread binds your hearts in new harmony. You sleep more soundly, your dreams infused with clarity rather than chaos. And everywhere you turn, you see small miracles, an unexpected gift in your mailbox, a flawless resolution to a nagging problem, a burst of creativity that frees you from the doldrums. These are not coincidences, but the footprints of divine timing, aligning your energy, your purpose, and your circumstances. Behind these visible changes, a symphony of divine intervention plays out on a hidden stage. Angels have been dispatched to clear your path, dismantling obstacles you never knew stood in your way. Synchronicities, perfectly timed encounters, prophetic words from strangers, uncanny insights in books you randomly open, act as confirmations that you are on track. What you once mistook for random chance is now unmistakable orchestration, a coalescing of events that propels you forward. Your darkest struggles were never without purpose. They were the refining fire that prepared you to carry the mantle of blessing. Like the Israelites crossing the Jordan on dry ground, Joshua 3 verse 17, you find that the barriers before you are parting, revealing the promised ground ahead. At this crucial juncture, you recognize that transformation is not merely happening around you, it is also unfolding within you. Yet knowing this is only half the journey. Many resist crossing fully into the new season because fear clings to what is known, no matter how painful. You might worry that accepting this shift demands sacrifices you cannot bear, or that the blessings you seek come at a cost too high. But true alignment isn't a casual choice. It is a covenant of the heart. It calls you to shed the disguises of self-doubt and step into your full identity as a co-heir with divine provision. This is the sacred moment when you decide whether to remain an observer of miracles or to rise as an active participant in their unfolding. Having seen the signs and sensed the divine alignment, now is the time to step forward with confidence. Release every hesitation that holds you on the shore of your destiny. Declare your readiness. I choose to embrace this shift. I trust the one who has set the stage. Deepen your spiritual practices. Immerse yourself in prayer that listens, not just speaks. Meditate on scriptures that affirm your calling, and connect with a community that champions your faith. Take practical steps to honor this season change. Initiate the projects you shelved. Voice the dreams you whispered in private. Invest time in relationships that resonate with your new frequency. Trust that as you act in faith, you will carry others into this wave of awakening by example. Your season has shifted, chosen one. Now anchor this truth in your heart. Comment shift if you see these signs in your life, and commit to living in the new reality unfolding before you. Remember that this transformation is not a fleeting moment, but the beginning of a sustained movement that will redefine your path and inspire all who follow. Stand firm in the knowledge that you were destined for this breakthrough, and that every ripple of change you experience is part of a grand design. Embrace your role as both the beneficiary and the herald of this new season, and watch as your journey becomes the testimony that lights the way for others. Living in overflow, not survival. You have spent too long scraping by, counting pennies, holding your breath each month, believing that this hardship is the sum total of your story. You remember waking with a knot in your stomach, anticipating the urgency of bills you couldn't pay and tasks you couldn't complete. You may have slipped into survival mode so deeply that convenience felt risky, and real provision seemed like a distant myth. You aren't alone in that struggle. Many have looked to tomorrow with weary eyes, convinced that life must be a cycle of give and take so tight that there is no space for breath. But that was never your purpose. You were born not just to make it through, but to overflow. The journey you've endured has only prepared you to carry abundance like a river unbound. And today you will discover how to step fully into that truth. In your darkest moments, you may have believed that survival was the only role you could play. Remember times when a simple meal felt like a triumph, when an unaffordable repair kept you awake at night, and when your dreams seemed permanently shelved because there wasn't enough. Perhaps your heart cried out in prayer, but your spirit heard only echoes of doubt. You wondered if the promise of provision was reserved for others more deserving, or if you had somehow missed your place in the stream of blessing. That emotional weight of wanting more but feeling stuck wore on you like a heavy cloak and left you longing for a way to break free from a life of ever-tightening budgets and ever-present fear. Yet every moment you spent in survival mode served a purpose. It refined your character, revealed the depth of your faith, and sharpened your awareness of what truly matters. In the overlooked chapter of Ezra 8 verse 22, Ezra recounts how those who fasted and sought the Lord's protection were delivered from imminent danger. Their humble posture in survival prepared them to steward divine safety. So too, your lean seasons have been the forge for your capacity to steward greater provision. When you finally lifted your eyes from the pit of lack and offered your heart in humble trust, you stepped into a covenant that transformed scarcity into surplus. That moment of surrender marked the turning point where survival's tyrant loosened its grip. Now begin to notice the signs of transformation blooming in your life. You may find that the small victories, unexpected support, spontaneous laughter, restful sleep, feel like hints of something greater rising within you. Opportunities for advancement appear in unlikely places, relationships mend more easily, and your schedule suddenly includes moments of ease where once there were only obligations. Like buds bursting open in spring, these shifts are the first blossoms of a season of abundance. You will recognize them in a fresh sense of energy, a renewed passion for your calling, and a willingness to give beyond your previous limits. These are unmistakable footprints of a river swelling beyond its banks. Behind these shifts lies a tapestry woven by divine hands, aligning every detail of your journey for your elevation. Angels have been dispatched to clear obstacles. Roads once blocked now open. Financial doors once locked now swing wide with favor. You may have dismissed chance as coincidence, but timely conversations, prophetic dreams, and perfectly placed resources are the signposts of spiritual alignment. In 1 Chronicles 29 verse 12, David prays, "Wealth and honor come from you. You are the ruler of all things." Your moments of provision are not self-wrought but declarations of God's reign over every aspect of your life. This understanding transforms your mindset from one of scarcity to one of stewardship. where every blessing becomes an opportunity to channel overflow into the lives of others. At this juncture, you recognize the wave of change washing over you, but you stand at a crossroads. Will you embrace this overflow or retreat into familiar scarcity? Many resist the call to abundance because the unknown can feel more threatening than the known struggles. Fear whispers that generosity risks depletion, that extended hands invite harm, that trust in supply invites disappointment. Yet true alignment demands more than witnessing miracles. It calls for full participation in the divine economy. This is your sacred invitation to step into the river of provision without hesitation, to trust that as you give, the current of blessing will carry more back to you than you release. Embrace this moment of decision, for it is your gateway to enduring abundance. Having felt the stirrings of overflow, now rise with conviction and act on this revelation. Release every ounce of fear that constricts your giving. Declare your identity as a steward of abundance, chosen to channel blessings far beyond your own needs. Deepen your spiritual rhythms, synchronize your heart with prayer that listens for guidance. Study scriptures that affirm your inheritance, and connect with others whose open hands encourage your faith. Take tangible steps. Increase your generosity toward causes that resonate with your purpose. Invest time in mentorship that raises new leaders, and launch creative endeavors that serve your community. Trust that each act of overflow rings out in harmony with the divine, amplifying blessings in ways you cannot foresee. Your season of survival is over. Comment overflow if you choose to live in abundance and become the river that nourishes all around you. Remember, this is not merely a personal breakthrough, but a movement that sweeps hearts and homes into freedom from lack. Stand firm in your calling, let generosity define your steps, and watch as the river of divine provision transforms your world. Ride this wave of overflow with unwavering faith, and become the living testimony of what it means to thrive in a life fully funded by grace. Stepping into divine confidence and destiny. You may have felt the weight of expectation pressing in on you, as if every step forward invited scrutiny and every success was met with whispers that you wouldn't last. The doubts echoed in your mind. Can I really carry this vision? Am I worthy of the destiny that seems just beyond my grasp? You are not alone in this internal battle. Many stand where you stand now, on the brink of a breakthrough, yet tethered by the fear that their moment will slip through their fingers. I see your struggle, the tight knot of uncertainty in your chest. And I want you to know that these feelings are not the end of your story, but the threshold of an extraordinary turning point. Something greater is calling you, and today you will discover the path from hesitant survival to unwavering destiny. Your journey has been marked by moments when you questioned whether you belonged in the story you felt destined to write. You might recall the sting of rejection when your ideas were dismissed, the frustration of doors slamming shut just as you gathered the courage to knock, or the loneliness of dreaming big while others mocked your vision. Those wounds cut deep, planting seeds of self-doubt that grew into thorns of hesitation. You wrestled with purpose, longing for validation yet fearing that any step toward your calling would expose you to more pain. In those hours of solitude, the ache of unfulfilled promise weighed on you like a constant ache, leaving you to wonder if your faith in a grand destiny was nothing more than a fool's hope. But every trial you faced was never a roadblock. It was God's preparation for the unveiling of your divine confidence. In the scroll of Haggai, God speaks through the prophet. The glory of this latter house shall be greater than the former. Haggai 2 verse 9. Those ancient words were meant for you. Your former seasons of struggle and hidden tears were the foundation for a glory that surpasses even your highest expectations. The moment you recognized that your hardships were deliberate training grounds for a higher purpose, you crossed from frustration into faith. That turning point marked the shift from relying solely on your own strength to embracing a partnership with the one who charts every course and supplies every need. Your season of worry and scarcity is over. Subscribe if you haven't yet, like this video, and comment "I am chosen" to let this message anchor in your soul. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. Conclude with a quick thank you to all supporting members and final CTA to join the membership with 4 full prophetic revelations daily. Join the membership via the link in the description. Your spiritual path deserves more than fragments. Step into the full light. And if this message moved you deeply, consider tapping the Super Thanks button to support the mission. Every Super Thanks fuels the light we're spreading together. Your next season is fully funded. Claim it now and watch the impossible become your everyday reality. Ride the wave and never look back.